Hi, welcome to the Rittner Floral School in Boston, Mass. I'm Dr. Steve Rittner, and it's a pleasure to welcome you into one of our classrooms today. I think you're going to enjoy this brief demonstration. I think you're going to find it a lot of fun. This particular video is for the do-it-yourself bride. In other words, you're getting married, you want to do some of your own flowers yourself, you're trying to save money, but you want it to really be showy. You want it to be spectacular. We get it. This video is for you. Also, anybody else who wants to watch this video is going to learn a very, very neat centerpiece, because what we're going to do is show you how to come up with a centerpiece that's quick, easy, and fun. Any of these arrangements generally start with a container, and the container that we're using today is a glass container. It's a cylinder, and just for comparison, we have several cylinder bases here that you can see. One on the right is a 5-inch cylinder. It's typically found and used for a lot of our applications. We do a lot of different designs in it. I'm using one that's a little bit bigger. This is about an 8-inch cylinder. It's exactly the same. The only difference is it's just a little bit larger because we want to give ourselves plenty of area to work in. We've got foam inside of the container, and to cover our mechanics, we could use one of several things. We could use some of our leaves, like aspidistra leaves or tie leaves, and then just kind of wrap them around the inside. I happen to have some of this stuff readily available. This is a ribbon made by the Berwick company. It is very cool, and it simulates aspidistra leaves. So whether you use a ribbon that simulates foliage or you actually use the real foliage, we wrap it around the inside, we've got our foam in place, and we're ready to go. And in order to work this, I've got about 2/3, I'd say, 2/3 of a block of foam in place there. Now, there are some really cool tricks that we can show you when we're doing this kind of design. The first really neat trick that I want to show you is the use of materials. If you want to come up with something that's quick, easy, fun, and showy, start with big stuff. Look, this is kale. Isn't this amazing? It is an amazing product. Generally, it's good in the spring and fall and early winter. It is ornamental. It comes plain green. It comes with a touch of purple. It also comes available with a little bit of white in it, so that we can get some kale that actually has a white center to it as well, that I think is kind of cool. And we're going to use the kale because the kale is big, it's showy, it gives a different kind of an effect, and it really is very, very easy to come up with a neat effect on our designing using this, because it doesn't take very much of this. And I'm going to take 2 of my kale. I'm going to place one in one direction towards the front and one out towards the back. So I'm using 2 of my kale. I want to extend this out a little bit, so I'm going to use another product that is very, very cheachy. People love this stuff, and it works very, very well if you want to create a very flowing effect. This is seeded eucalyptus. Seeded eucalyptus. It's showy, it's pretty, it has kind of a silvery green effect. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my seeded euc, and I want my design to feel a little bit more than just the couple of flowers that are in towards the middle. And so I'm going to take some seeded euc and I'm going to extend it so that it feels a little bit more on the horizontal side by working it in. And it doesn't take very much of this stuff to come up with a cool effect. So notice I've got some pieces of my seeded euc coming over on this side. I'm going to repeat by doing a similar kind of thing over on this side. So you can see that my design is not going to be teeny tiny. I'm starting in the center and I'm basically flowing out using pieces of my seeded euc to help create this kind of flow. So I've got 2 of my kale in the middle. I've got some seeded euc here and here. I would like to extend the design out and make it look a little bit more elaborate. And so I'm going to cover a little more of my mechanics. To do that, I'm going to use a few pieces of ivy. And it doesn't really take very much. It's just to give me a little bit of contrast with my seeded euc in terms of my material. So I'm going to take a couple of pieces and place it on one side. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side of my design, because this is a design that essentially can be viewed all the way around, and it can be used very, very effectively going in both directions, really, and looking at it in both directions. So I'm going to take another little bit of my ivy and place it over towards this side. So far, this design feels very, very green, very, very green. And we do have a little white in our kale. I'm going to use another trick here. We're going to mix our kale with another one of our favorite flowers, hydrangea. Hydrangea. These are white hydrangea. They're big, they're beautiful. And look, I can take a white hydrangea, poke it right over here on this side, and then do the exact same thing over onto the other side of the design here. So now what we have in effect is a very, very interesting thing going on. We've got our kale right here and right over here, a diagonal of our kale going in this direction, and then we also have our white hydrangea placed here and here. So you can see we almost have a diagonal here, and with 4 flowers, look how that fills up the space very, very nicely for me. Now, we'd like to add a little bit more to the design. We can mix a few more things in to add a little more prestige to it. You never can go wrong with a rose. Roses always work very, very well. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tuck a few roses into this arrangement, and I'm working them in so that they're just kind of in between and flowing through our materials, working from the front part of the design in towards the other side. Again, this is viewable all the way around. So we've got our kale here, our hydrangea here, and then just a few of our roses tucked in. This covers the bulk of our container, and you notice we've got a very, very pretty arrangement that has come together very, very fast. Now let's add a few accents to it. This stuff is great. Buried materials are always wonderful. This is called silver brunia. And so I'm going to take a little of my silver brunia and I'm going to tuck a little of it right in here like so, just having it kind of coming out just slightly. Of course, you may or may not find silver brunia available to you, but there are all kinds of other really wild buried materials. This is hypericum berries, hypericum. They come, they're pretty much available throughout the year, and they come in a variety of colors. For example, you notice this is a brighter red, this is a little bit more subdued, and we can use some of these materials very effectively to create almost like a counterbalance to the other materials that we have here. So let's work some of our hypericum berries into the design. I have one piece that I'm going to work here. I'm going to work another right over here. And notice that it gives us a little bit of contrast in terms of our materials. And I'm going to work a few right over in here. And then I'm going to work some over towards the other side of the design as well. It is fun stuff to work with, and it gives us contrast with our predominantly white and green composition. So I'm going to take a little bit, it's hard to see, my viewer, where I'm putting it in facing over the other side, but I think you get the idea very, very well. So you can see, my viewer, this is a very, very pretty design. It uses some very, very nice materials, and it's quick and easy to do. You see, my viewer, we get it. If you're going to do your own flowers for your wedding, you want it to be fast, quick and easy to do, and yet at the same token, you want it to be showy. What have we done here? Think about it. 2 kale here and here, forming a diagonal across. 2 white hydrangea here and here, forming a counter diagonal. This effectively fills most of the center of our foam in. A little bit of our foliage, using a rather snobby foliage, our seeded uke, working it out over on this side and this side to extend the design out farther. And you could do it just as this section here, but I like extending it out. A few pieces of our ivy to add a little prestige to it here and there. Never can go wrong by working some roses in, working a few roses in between the flowers, and then finally a little bit of buried stuff. Whether you're using your hypericum berries or silver brunia or a combination, you can't go wrong. The advantage of this design is it's big, it's showy, it'll work very, very well as a table centerpiece, it's prestigious, and I haven't been rushing. I've been just kind of sitting here chatting with you guys, showing you how to do it. But I think you can see that if you were going to turn out 20 or 30 of these things for your various tables, how quickly you can do it using this formula. Quick, easy, and fun. That's the Rittner Floral School way. On behalf of all of us here at Rittner's Floral School, we wish you a wonderful wedding, a wonderful marriage. We hope that our little suggestions and tricks here of the trade help you in terms of achieving your goal. On behalf of all of us, we thank you for coming in and visiting with us today.